What if I told you there's a way to communicate with your family, friends, neighbors, get help in an emergency, or communicate after a natural disaster over distances great and short, rural and urban, and that it would cost you less than a tank of gas for 10 years worth of use for your entire family? Well, with GMRS, you can do all that. What is GMRS, you might be asking? GMRS is an acronym, and it's short for the General Mobile Radio Service. This is a certain subset of the ultra high frequency or UHF spectrum that has been set aside by the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, to create, quote, a mobile two-way voice communication service with limited data applications for facilitating activities of individual licensees and their family members. Now, you may be balking at the mention of a license. Don't worry, this isn't one that you're going to have to take a test for. You just have to navigate the FCC website to enter your information and pay your $35 fee. Within a couple of days, the FCC will publish your new call sign and you'll be good to go, but more on that later. It's what you can do once you have that license which sets GMRS apart from the other radio and communication services out there. Personally, I've used GMRS as a means of car-to-car communications while off-roading, a way to keep in touch from the backcountry while backpacking, a cheap and effective family communications tool for my kid to use while he's out and about in the neighborhood before he had a cell phone, and as a way to meet and chat with people through my local repeaters. GMRS uses a set of 30 different analog FM frequencies in the ultra-high frequency or UHF spectrum. Without going too much into the nerdy rabbit hole, what this means is you get the same levels of power and clarity over distance as you would expect from the radios used in business and industry, or by government agencies before they started changing to digital systems. Because of the way its radio waves behave, UHF is considered a line-of-sight system. What this means is that if you can see it, you'll be able to communicate with it. The best way I can explain this is to think of radios as light bulbs. Just like light bulbs, radios measure their power in watts, and the higher the wattage, the higher the output. Stick a 5-watt light bulb at the top of a mountain with nothing obstructing its view, and you'll be able to see it quite a long ways away as long as you have a direct line of sight on it. Now, take another identical light bulb and set it down in a forest or a city somewhere, and once things block your line of sight, it becomes harder, if not impossible, to see. However, if we bump that wattage up significantly, we become aware of it because the added volume of light coming off it will reflect off its surroundings and find its way to you. This translates into longer communication distances between radios and much clearer signals than other radio services. GMRS also makes use of range-extending tools known as repeaters. Repeaters are a radio that listens for your transmission and then repeats it over a wide area. Generally speaking, repeaters are mounted on the tops of towers, mountains, or tall buildings, as this increases their line of sight and subsequently your range of communications greatly improves. GMRS is the only radio service which allows for their use and is also accessible to the general public without having to take any form of a knowledge test. You just need the GMRS license. To hold a GMRS license, you must be an individual who is at least 18 years old and not acting as a representative of a foreign government, nor subject to a cease and desist order issued by the FCC. As stated before, you simply go to the FCC's website, apply, pay your money, and once they issue you a call sign, you're good to go for the next 10 years. The GMRS license is also unique when compared to those used by amateur or ham radio operators in that your license also allows for your immediate family members to operate a radio under that license. Who does the FCC define as your immediate family? They state your immediate family members are your spouse, children, grandchildren, stepchildren, parents, grandparents, step-parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and in-laws. They don't have to be living under the same roof as you, nor in the same town, or even the same state, which leads me to believe that all of Appalachia could probably be covered with about 6 GMRS licenses and be fully FCC compliant. What does your license allow you to do? Your license allows you and your family to engage in two-way plain language voice communication with other GMRS stations and with FRS units concerning personal and business activities. If you're confused by what FRS is, it's the family radio service. They're those little bubble pack, almost toy radios you see on the shelf in the sporting goods section in places like Walmart and Target. Well, not as powerful as GMRS, a lot of people have them and use them, and it's nice to be able to communicate with them when needed. They're a less powerful, non-license required system that functions on a lot of the same frequencies, but doesn't allow for cool things like repeaters or more power. GMRS does allow for what are considered one-way communications for things like calling for help or transmitting other emergency communications and providing warnings of hazardous road conditions to other travelers. My local GMRS club actually has a volunteer on the air during rush hour, providing regular traffic alerts and accident updates. And in the era where more and more of us are listening to podcasts or streaming music in the car, it wouldn't be an option anyways. So it's nice to have that through GMRS. Once you have the license, what else do you need? Well, just a radio, specifically one that meets FCC standards as defined in their Part 95 regulations. In recent years, more and more radios meeting those standards have found their way to the market and can be purchased for as low as $40 on the low end for a decent handheld off of Amazon to nearly $400 for a top-of-the-line 50-watt mobile unit from specialty radio retailers like Buy2Way Radios. I'll put some links in the description below to some good starter radios that won't break your bank and allow you to get your foot in the door. You can do quite a bit with the most basic repeater-capable handheld radio, so don't think you've got to go out and buy the most expensive thing right off the bat. Every radio has different construction quality and feature sets, and you'll discover your preference and needs for them as you go down the rabbit hole of this hobby. If you need a little more help navigating that rabbit hole, I'm here for you. I've got a whole list of gear reviews of some very popular radios. I'll also be rolling out more informative and educational content on the topic, so if you're interested, be sure to subscribe and ring the little bell so you don't miss out. Till next time, be good.